Please note this video will take 2 hours, even though it's 24 minutes. Please make sure you check the description box below for all the recipe and the extra details. I have 1 large head of Napa cabbage that I cut. You're going to need a large bowl and coarse salt. Once you have your salt, you're going to put it between the leaves and on top and on the bottom. The salt in the Napa cabbage will draw out any moisture and it will dehydrate the cabbage. So as you're turning it, and it's sitting for 30 minutes, as you're turning it, you'll see more and more water each time you're turning it. So here I'm just salting in between the leaves. Don't worry, after dehydrating the cabbage, we will rinse plenty of times, at least 3 to 4 times, so the salt will be gone. You'll know the salting process is working because your cabbage will shrink. It gets smaller and smaller. Here I added about 1 cup of water just to wet it. This part is optional, you don't have to. So here I slice my carrots with a mandolin so that I can cut them really thinly. And actually, sorry everyone, my camera cut off when I was cutting the spring onions, so you won't see me do that. But make sure you wash and dry your spring onions before you use them in this recipe. You can also use radish, Korean radish. I did cut some for my recipe, but I decided not to use it. So this is the first round of checking the cabbage. We're going to turn it from the bottom to the top. So any cabbage that's on the bottom now should now be at the top. And this cabbage has been sitting for 30 minutes. You will know your cabbage is ready because it's bendable. Right now, if you bend this, it'll snap. That's how you know it's not ready. already it's getting smaller because now I'm able to put the top on somewhat. It's not covering the bowl, but it's getting smaller. Next, we want to prepare the rice flour. So I have 2 cups of water in the pot, and I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of rice flour to the water. And we're going to cook this for about, I believe I cooked it 15 to 20 minutes, because you want it to get very thick and have a nice consistency. You can skip this step altogether and just use white rice. Later on, you'll throw it in the blender with the pepper mixture. This is actually the first time I've made it with the rice flour, so we'll see how it turns out. You want to make sure you're stirring pretty frequently so it doesn't burn on the bottom or start sticking. If it starts to stick, you have your fire too high. I have it here on medium heat. It's starting to get a little thicker. Next, you want to get your sugar, your brown sugar ready. I added 1 tablespoon of brown sugar to the rice flour mixture. Round 2 of turning over your cabbage leaves. Same process. Bring everything that's on the bottom to the top. And you can see now it's getting more bendable. At this point, I should be able to put the top over the bowl completely. You can see all the liquid at the bottom. That means the water is being drawn out from the Napa cabbage. So I have my food processor here, and I'm going to pour into the food processor my rice flour. And also, the next step is to put in 2 cups of Korean red pepper flakes. There's many varieties. There's very expensive to inexpensive. Usually just go for the Korean red peppers that are the reddest. And here's a tip, you can also put it in the freezer. If you know you're not going to use it often, I store mine in the freezer and it's fine. In my recipe I actually use 3 cups because I don't mind the extra spice. Next you'll put in fish sauce. You can use any brand that you like. This can be found at any Asian grocery store. Then I have my ginger. I have a thumb size of ginger that I cut up and 4 tablespoons of garlic. I use 1/4 cup to a 1/2 cup of fish sauce because I believe I added a little bit more later. So just let that blend for at least 2 minutes. Here, I'm checking it. The consistency is nice. Make sure you taste your sauce to see what else you would like to add to it. I'm going to add brown sugar to this, and at this point I know I added more fish sauce. But always blend and then taste to see what you like. Okay, so we're done with the blending process. Here, I'm just going to scoop it out into a bowl and set it to the side until I'm ready to put it on the cabbage. Also, this is the part where you can mix in your carrots, your sliced carrots, and your spring onions, and Korean radish if you chose to add that into the recipe. There's the spring onions and carrots that I added into the pepper sauce. The spring onions add lots of flavor, and this sauce smells really, really good. You could even eat this on top of something. Very good and very spicy. Now here's round 3 of soaking my Napa cabbage. I shouldn't say soaking, I should say dehydrating, because we're not soaking it in water. And as you can see, there's a lot of liquid from the cabbage so far coming out. So far we have soaked our cabbage for an hour and a half. Now we're going to rinse, rinse, and rinse. You don't want any salt left behind on your cabbage. And as you can see, it was flexible and bendable without snapping. So that tells me it was ready to wash. You'll know if you got all the salt off if you just rip a piece of the leaf and taste it. If you taste too much salt, then you still need to rinse it off some more. To make this video shorter, I did cut out a lot of the rinsing because it made the video too long. And as you can see, the video was already 24 minutes. So I rinsed mine about 3 times. During the final rinse, I just squeezed out the rest of the water and put it into a bowl. So you want to use any container that is airtight. I use ball jars, the ball mason jars. I think they're 32 ounces. So once your cabbage is all settled, cut off the core at the end. You don't want to leave that in there. Once the cores are cut off, you're then going to begin to apply your sauce on every leaf. You want to be very generous with sauce. So as you're placing the kimchi in the mason jar, you want to make sure you're pressing down so that there's no space in between. And at least leave 1.5 inches of space at the top, because as this is fermenting in the refrigerator, so as soon as you're done, you're going to place it in the refrigerator. As it's fermenting, it's going to develop more and more liquid. So you'll even see liquid filled up to the top after like maybe half of a month. You'll see liquid form at the top. And you always want to keep pressing down the kimchi in the jars. And make sure to open the lid, let the air out. Because if you leave it too long, when you go to open the top, it'll pop open. I think because the mason jars are very, very good. They're really airtight. So you can use plastic, but I'm using glass because I like to see the process. This recipe filled up 4 32-ounce mason jars, which is good. My family goes through this very quickly. You can eat it over rice, you can eat it just by itself, and it's a good digestion agent. If you have problems with constipation, this actually helps. You will never be constipated if you eat a piece every day. And it's also has a lot of vitamins in it. You can even Google more of the properties of kimchi. But I know it's good for your gut. So here I'm just trying to cover each cabbage with the red pepper paste. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, or if you already made the recipe and you really like it, you can give this video a thumbs up. And I forgot to tell you, please wear gloves before you even apply the red pepper paste. It is spicy. But if you can handle spice on your hands, then feel free to not wear the gloves. But I wear gloves. You give your cabbage leaves a nice massage of the red pepper paste. I know this process takes long, but it is worth it in the end for your health and for your taste buds. And don't forget to comment down below with any questions.